To continue our discussions in biochemistry, we go now to pH. When you say pH is a measure of molar concentration of hydrogen ions in the solution, and as such is a measure of the acidity and basicity of the solutions. And the letter pH stands for the power of hydrogen, and the numerical value is defined as a negative base or negative log or 10 logarithm of the molar concentrations of hydrogen ions. So we'll in our lecture we have introductory discussions, and then most of the discussion of pH and vapors will be discussed more in the laboratory. Okay, so what is really the importance of pH, the external and internal environment of cells? So we have the internal part, the cytoplasm, and we have here the external part or the extracellular environment. So usually there is an exchange or the entry of an ion, okay, both sodium or potassium, and the entry of that one in the cytoplasm is considered to be via active transport because energy is being consumed in the form of ATP. So try to say ATP is converted to ADP, and that is there is one phosphate group is being utilized, and ADP is transported to ATP, wherein one phosphate group is being gained. So again, the extrusion, or the exit of hydrogen is also energy dependent or active transport. Okay, so in this case, you try to see sample carboxylic acid, so permeates or diffuse freely, it enters the cytoplasm, it is converted to water and carbon dioxide or to phosphoric acid. Okay, so usually this one, the entry of the different ions, so maintains the pH of the external environment of almost less than 3, so which is considered to be acidic. So usually this is the external environment, example, the boundary between the external environment of the cells in the gastrointestinal tract. So there is what we call a lower pH, and then this inside the bloodstream, so it maintains the pH of 7. Okay, so any chemical reactions in living cells involve exchanges of hydrogen ions, because changes in the acidity can affect both structures, chemical reactivity of cellular molecules, and must constantly maintain the acid-base balance. So if there's a change in the pH environment within the cells, so it will affect the biochemical reactions. Okay, so it might tend, example, weak drugs or unionized drugs usually enters the lipid layer. So usually if they enter the lipid layer, across that layer down to the intracellular environment of the cells, usually the cells maintain the pH for that certain unionized or weak drugs. Okay, so much for pH. So that's why in the laboratory we'll discuss more on the pH. So we go now to the first biomolecules we have to discuss is the amino acids. So learning objectives: to know and name, recognize the different structure of amino acids. So this is online, we will just have the familiarization. Okay, because in face-to-face, of course, I oblige you to draw, but this time, because of online, so you have to do the understanding and analysis of each structure. Okay, to classify each of the amino acids in appropriate one, so 9 families and their side chain. Okay, and distinguish and recognize the 4 levels of protein structures, basis of flexibility and extended polypeptide chain, know the different chemical reactions and processes involved in eukaryotic cells, and know the protein synthesis of eukaryotic cells, and of course clinical applications. Okay, so for amino acids, this is the general structure. Okay, we have the amino acid, so we have here the NH3 or the positive charge NH3, and we have the carboxyl group or the COO. So pwedeng NH2 dito, dalawang hydrogen, dito maging COH, so that it can be interchanged. Okay, and R stands for the variant or the side chain. Okay, usually the amino acids, in determining their structure, usually it depends upon the side chain of the variant. Any of the group of organic compounds contains one or more amino acids, the amino group, and more carboxyl group or carboxylic acid group. We have the COH known as the carboxyl group, and amino acid is known as the building blocks of proteins. Okay, so usually amino acids plus amino acids, it will form peptide. Peptide plus peptide, it will form a polypeptide known as protein. So usually they maintain the pH of 7. So ano yung mga source ng amino acids? So usually yung mga meat, okay, eggs, okay, fish, and then mostly ito yung mga maraming amino acids usually coming from the pork meat, beef meat. Okay, next, rules of amino acids and proteins. So they may polymerize to form peptides. Mamaya ko sa inyo, amino acid plus amino acid, it will form peptide, and peptide plus peptide, it will form polypeptide. Serve as the precursor of the other biomolecules like purines, pyrimidines, and porphyrins. So usually when we say precursor, sila yung needed in the synthesis of the other biomolecules in the body. They may be oxidized to serve as energy or source of fuel for the cell, control and regulate the gene transcription and translation process, because in cells, inside the cells, we have the most prominent organelle known as a nucleus, and then there is what you call RNA gene transcription that happens. So usually ang nag-regulate niyan, it is the work of the amino acids there. Okay? Because the protein or the gene, the nucleic acid, is composed of amino acids. So during the copying of the DNA, okay, from the parent, so the amino acid is already the one that controls, because all of these nucleic acids, it is present in the gene or the chromosomes or in the DNA, are comprised of nucleic acid, of the amino acids. Okay, provide structural strength and elasticity to organs. Okay, and the vascular system, okay, or the bloodstream. Usually, yung structural, meaning itong mga muscles composed of amino acids. It's composed of protein. Okay. So, nutritional classification, we have essential amino acids not synthesized in the body. Usually, it is supplied in diets. So, mga methionine, threonine, tryptophan, valine, leucine, isoleucine, and phenylalanine, and lysine are essential. So, when you say essential, they are not synthesized inside the body. Semi-essential, so essentially grouped during growing period of the child. So usually we have the arginine and histidine. So semi-essential. So pwede siya maging essential, at the same time maging non-essential. Mga non-essentials synthesized in the body and not needed not to be supplied in diet, because our bodies already produce that certain amino acids. Ano naman yun sila? So we have glycine, serine, cysteine, tyrosine, glutamic acid, alanine, aspartate, asparagine, glutamine, and proline. So these are known as non-essentials. So non-essentials, they're already synthesized, so it is not needed in our diet. Okay, so general features of amino acids. Okay, so we have the general structure again. So this is the amino group and the carboxyl group, the negative and the positive charge, and we have the hydrogen. So yung tawag natin na inward or the side chain of the variant, okay, usually ito yung naka-face or the one that faces the hydrophobic region. Okay, contain two characteristic the functional groups. We have the amino group and carboxylic group. And amino acid used in proteins, these are attached to alpha carbon. Okay, central carbon atom. This one is the alpha carbon atom. Okay, to which the hydrogen is attached, and organic side chain is also attached. Okay, so usually naming depends upon the R group. So later, if you want to draw, just always remember the general structure. Kung masapos mo lang siya, kung face to face, so you have to draw. Kung hindi, we have to analyze. Okay, central carbon atom is chiral for 19-20 common acids and by stereoisomeric form and L isomers. So mga chiral, this is a chiral carbon. Why? Because it is surrounded by different atoms or compounds, ba? So D isomers are found only examples of bacterial cell walls and short. So this is D isomers. Okay. Next, amino acid, characteristically isolated as white crystalline ionic solids with high melting point in a poor solubility in organic solvent. They are moderately soluble in water. So usually may mga preparations ng amino acids yan. Okay. Amino acids dissolved in water and dipolar ions. So zwitterion due to ionization of acid and amino group. So mga zwitterion, pwede siya mag-act as base and acid. So ano yung functional group na nandoon? So try to remember the carboxyl group and then the amino group, they act as zwitterion. Okay? So alpha carboxyl group has a dissociation constant of 2 to 2.4 and alpha amino group has dissociation constant of 9 to 9.7. So this is base and this is acid. Okay? Next. So the first and the smallest of all amino acid is known to be the glycine. Okay? Glycine is found mainly in the form of cations. Okay? So usually glycine is not chiral because same man yung hydrogen niya. Okay? Next, glycine is mainly form of anion. Okay? Because of the mostly consists of the positive charge. Okay? pH around is pH 7 exists in zwitterion. And pH 6.1 equal to dominant species is the zwitterion. Okay? So, mga zwitterion, almost neutral siya. Okay? Next, when amino acids are polymerized or being bound to each other, it will form a polypeptide protein. The alpha carboxyl group and the alpha amino group are joined together by linkages and effectively neutral and acid-base behavior. So if this is the alpha carbon, okay, ito example alpha carbon, okay, so this is one amino acid and another one amino acid. So usually they are linked by amide. So this is the linkage, the amide group and another amide group. So this one are peptide because it is composed of 2 amino acid. Okay? So, allied group, ano lang yan tawag doon? Amide group linkages. So, this one ang bonding dito sa nitrogen. Okay? Because of the presence, of course, of the spare electrons. Next, classification amino acids and its structure. So, glycine, okay? So, will not include the IUPAC name because we are already finished that one in the organic chem. So, let's proceed to the characteristic description of the amino acid. So, non-essential, meaning they are produced in the body, so need not to be supplied in the diet. So, neutral, genetically coded amino acids, it is only protein-forming without center of chirality. Okay? Nga man, because of 2 hydrogen ions. So, it's not chiral. Kung different siya, pwede siya maging chiral. Okay? Having a hydrogen substituents in its side chain, or the variant. So, yung variant, take note class, pwede siya mag-interchange. Okay? Pwede sa taas ang isa ka variant, pwede mo sa dalawang ang position ng variant. Okay? Smallest of the 20 amino acids commonly found in proteins. So, based on structure, pinaka-smallest siya. Because, yung side chain niya is composed only of 1 hydrogen atom. Okay? Next. So, the second class, we have the alanine, valine, leucine, and isoleucine. Usually, tawag siya nila is non-polar group. Okay? Because of the presence of the methyl group, that is non-polar group. Okay? Mapaka-methyl group, this is considered to be saturated bond. Okay? Yan ang mabigat ang CH3. Okay? Next. Packing of side chains away from exposure to water stabilize protein structure. So, basta importante yung ang side chain niya, kung malayo sa water, so it cannot really react. So example, ito yung mga side chain niya. Okay? So because if it's nearer the water, pwede magkaroon ng tawag natin na reaction. Next, third class proline, IUPAC, pyrrolene decarboxylic acid. So we have non-essential rigid structure because it is considered to be tatawag nito parang ang structure niya is bonded to each other from cyclic. It belongs to cyclic, rigid yan. Okay? Side chain are both linked by alpha amino acid and then the alpha carbon and alpha amino. So from NH2, ito yung linkage between the two. Okay? Secondary amine and nitrogen having 2 covalent bonding with carbon atom. Dito 2 covalent bond yan. Okay? Biosynthetically derived from amino acid like glutamate. Okay? Next, fourth class comprised of aromatic acid phenylalanine, tyrosine, and tryptophan. Usually they aromatic side chains are hydrophobic and bulky. So this one is bulky. Madako na siya na side chain because of the presence of what? Benzene ring. Okay, this is hydrophobic or unsaturated because of the double bond that is present in the benzene ring. 3 alternate double bond. Side chains may also use for molecular recognition in binding site on proteins. Okay. Next, another one, the sulfur containing amino acid is the cysteine. So you try to see the structure nila, mayroon man silang SH or the thiol group. This one is the sulfa group. Okay. Next, side chain is thiol methyl. This is methyl. This is SH. Okay. Methionine is a side chain of methyl ethyl thiol. So this is ethyl and we have the methyl. So this is the ether group. Diba? Remember, this is sulfide. Sulfide is derived from ether with the general structure of ROR. So this is RSR. Okay, ether pa rin yun. Kaso lang sulfa group lang yung nag-bond sa kanya sa tunga. Okay? Next. The 6 made of 2 amino acids alcohols. Okay? Ito ay yung nakakontain ng OH group or the hydroxyl group. This is the alcohol containing amino acid. Threonine side chain is hydroxymethyl. On the side chain is only weak acid. Okay? Important side protein modification, phosphorylation and glycosylation can affect overall functioning of the protein. So, mga phosphorylation when you add phosphate group and glycosylation if you add a glucose group. So, pwede magkaroon ng changes sa structure ng amino acid. Okay? Next. Glutamic acid and aspartic acid. So these are considered to be the acidic amino acids because of the in the side chain it has the presence of carboxylic acid. Okay, ito. Glutamic is carboxyl group of the side chain are ionized to anions under physiologic conditions. Okay? Tandaan nyo, ang mga metal group mga ionized portion na siya. Aspartic acid is biologically important organic compounds made up of amine, carboxylic acid functional group, and alone with side chain specific ion. So this is your aspartic acid. So ang kinalain malang sang duwa sa class or the difference between the two is just the chain of the methyl group. So aspartic isa, ito dalawa. Okay? So both has the COOH which considered to be the acidic amino acids. Okay? Yun ang mga functional groups. The 8th class. So we have glutamine, asparagine, considered to be the amides of amino acid or the basic group. Highly polar because of presence of your NH. Okay? So usually pwede yung NH mag-bond eh. Okay? Side chain of glutamine is an amide formed by replacing side chain hydroxyl of glutamic acid. So okay? Amine functional group making it amide for the glutamic acid. Usually kung side chain mo lang, kung islan mo ni sa isang COH or OH, pwede siya maging glutamic acid. Like also as asparagine. So, if you try to remove this one for the process of deamination or removal of the amino group, then addition of your carbon dioxide group, or the carboxyl group, I mean. So it becomes already aspartic acid. Okay? Next. So glutamic acid. So there is what we call removal. Example, removal of this one. Okay, the hydroxylation process and plus the transamination process. So it will form glutamine, from glutamic to glutamine. So like same as aspartic acid. So the hydroxylation process, removal of hydroxyl group, then addition of amino group or transamination process leads to the formation of asparagine, from aspartic to asparagine. Okay? Next. Ninth class, basic amino acids, lysine, arginine, and histidine. Comprised of lysine, arginine, and histidine. Yung long chain, one of the longest chain in the amino acid is the lysine, because composed of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Almost 5 chain ang narada. Okay? While arginine, charge of guanidine yung group. Side chain involves strong ionic hydrogen bonding. This one, ionic, because of 2 presence of NH2 with negative ions such as carboxylates, of course, and phosphates. Okay? And histidine, ito yung imidazole ring nitrogen and also held by metal ion. So this one, it is the imidazole. Okay? This is the side chain of the histidine. Okay? Kumbaga ito yung variant niya, the imidazolium group. Okay? So imidazolium group is also considered to be a positive or basic because of NH. Basta may NH ka ni class, take note, that is basic. Kung mga OH, COOH na on acid siya, okay, usually acidic na, ha? Okay, next. Metabolic classifications of amino acids is classified to glucogenic, ketogenic, and glucogenic. So usually mga baka glucogenic, so these are common amino acids to form pyruvate or citric acid cycle intermediates such as alpha ketoglutarate, succinyl coenzyme and fumarate, and oxaloacetate. Usually these are intermediates, meaning these are compounds that are found in the reactions, but they are not the final product. It needs one step to become the final product. So yun ang mga tawag na mga glucogenic. Mga example yan, glycine, alanine, serine, cysteine, glutamine, proline, histidine, methionine, valine, and isoleucine. This is isoleucine na. Okay?